This video is sponsored by Squarespace. The 2025 US Grand Prix illustrated a few things, didn't it? The McLarens are definitely feeling the heat, Turn 1 at Cota is spectacularly chaotic, and Alpine team orders for P17 is hilarious. But beyond all that, this weekend perfectly illustrated that there are two drivers on the grid that, in my opinion, are clear of the rest. Because in their own ways, we saw exactly why Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are the two best Formula 1 drivers right now. Indisputable fact, right? That's how these things work. My name's Tommo. Let's talk about it. So let's start with Max, shall we? When I talked about his impossible title charge, 3 weeks ago, it felt like a stretch. It felt like a challenge that Max Verstappen's ability, his talent wasn't going to be enough. He needed things to work in his favour, things outside of his control. Then title leader Oscar Piastri goes DNF P4, DNF P5 in the last 4 races, and their gap reduces from 96 points post Monza between Piastri and Verstappen to just 40. Max, of course, has held up his end of the bargain in those 4 races, finishing P1, P2, P1, P1, but both things needed to happen, and they did. Thing is, the scorching temperatures in Austin should have played into the hands of McLaren, at least on paper, right? Their ability to preserve their tyres when temps get high has been significant over the course of the year. But maybe it's not such a factor anymore. Because you look at Max in his Red Bull, quick over a lap, absolutely. There are many cars on the grid that can excel over a lap relative to where they can finish over a race distance. That was the big challenge in Austin, making these tyres last the distance. Yet fortune favours the brave, right? And well, things worked out perfectly for Max in the sprint race, didn't they? He won the Grand Prix and both McLarens were out. That also robbed them of any long run time, right? Because FP1, it's only one session in a sprint weekend, so that inhibited McLaren's ability to perform on the Sunday. Also, Chuck de Klerk, Max's countryman, did the job and held Lando behind for as long as possible, almost preserved P2, not quite in the end. But then you've also got Oscar just having a really off weekend where he was just slow, consistently 3 tenths off of Lando over a lap. And no race pace either. Could a bit better racecraft from Norris have got the move done on Charles Leclerc earlier? Perhaps it could have, but at the end of the day, you had both McLarens faltering and you had Max Verstappen driving with a level of composure that should strike fear into their hearts. There's no way Max's performance as of late aren't playing a factor, aren't playing a role in why McLaren are wobbling right now. And now we're in crunch time, 2025, just 5 Grand Prix, 2 sprints left. This is where the value of experience is paying dividends for Max. I mean, look at Oscar. He's only in his 3rd season of Formula 1. He's leading from the front. The pressure is very much on. Lando's been in this sport for 4 years longer than Oscar. Had a kind of look at a title fight last year, but not really. And then Max has been in F1 8 years longer than Oscar, has won 4 in a row, is trying to make it 5. Like, Max has been here, done that, got the t-shirt. This is not going to phase him, this situation, anywhere near as much as it's going to fave Oscar in particular, but also Lando. Like, Lando, again, was a long shot last year, but never really, I didn't really ever believe that at any point. He was really with a chance of winning that title in 2024. This is his first proper shot, I think. And the thing is, it's easy to sit here and criticise McLaren, but like, what do you expect? I mean, with the experience of Lando and Oscar, the experience of that team as well, McLaren aren't the beast that they were in the kind of late 2000s. Max and Red Bull have been the most complete team in the ground effect regulation era. Of course they're going to be feeling the heat. Oscar might be ice cold on the outside, but given the situation, no wonder he's fumbling. And given the mental advantage we know Max has over Lando on track, this is going to go down to the wire. And as the 2025 F1 season comes to the board, perhaps you should check out today's video sponsor, Squarespace, to create your very own website, your own beautiful online home to commemorate the moment, right? Look, if you run a business, if you're looking for somewhere to host a blog or portfolio, Squarespace has thousands of beautiful drag and drop template options to deliver whatever it is you may need. In fact, I've got my very own brand new website on the go at the minute. It's a work in progress, coming soon. With 24/7 customer support and AI built into the software to make it an absolute doddle to create something you will love. I think you should give it a go. Completely free to try. It's only when you want to publish your finished website live to the world that you have to pay anything, and when that time inevitably comes around, head to squarespace.com/TommoF1 to get 10% off of your very first website or domain. Now, of course, you have to give credit to Red Bull Racing for the recovery, turning this RB21 around. It's not just the driver, okay? This sport will always be a battle of opinions as to how much is the car, how much is the driver. But it's mad to think that just 78 days ago from the day of recording this, Monday, the 20th of October 2025, after round number 14 in Hungary, when asked if he could win even one more race this season, Max said, "No, not the way things are going right now. That's just the way it is. It's clear." In the 5 rounds since, he's won 3 Grand Prix and 1 sprint. Insanity. Thing is, was he lying? At the time, absolutely not. It's easy to forget just how much they honked in Hungary, P8 in qualifying, P9 in the race. Nowhere all weekend, and in the 7 rounds prior to Budapest, he'd only managed 1 P2 podium in Canada. The car was not in a good place for Max then, but very much is now. And plaudits should absolutely go Red Bull Racing's way for that turnaround, but don't forget the driver's input on that as well. Because since Laurent Mekies's arrival at the team, it has been well documented that the team has shifted its approach to listen and lean more into driver feedback from both Max and Yuki than just relying on the data. Helmut Marko detailed this on record last month. The whole technical team is more open and they discuss things. They are not blind to what the simulation says. The engineers are listening more to the driver. If you have such a fast and experienced driver, I think that's the right way. And Max backed this himself as well. With Laurent having an engineering background, he's asking the right questions to the engineers, common sense questions. So I think that works really well. So not only is Max driving great, he's feeding back more directly to the team in a way that seems to be working for everyone better. And on top of that, he's feeling himself. Like, he's bang up for this. He's absolutely allowed a bit of ego as a 4-time world champion who's also doing bits in endurance racing outside of F1 entirely. What can this man not do? And I loved his answer when he was asked if he would accept papaya rules at his team. No, but then we probably wouldn't be that close in points anyway. And something tells me that he's not implying that he's the driver who'd be behind. Big points deficit between teammates. Max is only taking one of those roles. Prime Verstappen with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Andreas Stella is right to be concerned. It could well be too little too late. 40 points is still a huge margin to cover, but the fact he's even giving himself a chance is insane. But through a combination of 1-lap pace, race management, racecraft, mental domination over his rivals, and this off-track engineering feedback, every single box is being ticked right now. So if anyone can close that 40-point gap, 5 Grand Prix, 2 sprints left, it's Maximilian Verstappen, isn't it? So then what about Charles? He doesn't have the numbers to his name this season that Max does. My Drivers' Championship win prediction for this season, Charles Leclerc sitting down in P5. On the face of it, you can be forgiven for thinking this has been a bit of a write-off season where we haven't seen the best of Charles Leclerc. But the thing is, at no point this year have Ferrari been able to nail down this SF25, have they? Every time you think they've made a breakthrough and they're onto something, like a salmon, they've got it in their hands, and then all of a sudden it does that and it buggers off somewhere. I picked salmon because pink, and I couldn't think of a better analogy, to be honest. With Red Bull, you've got a very consistent performance over the course of the year. You know, started pretty strong, then had a dip, but now seem to be pretty good. But Ferrari's inconsistency week on week, tracks that they've been good at the past, they're bad at. There seems to be zero correlation week on week, and even within a weekend, look at Austin. They were nowhere in sprint qualifying and the sprint race, the Ferraris. Turned it around completely. A nice 3-4, could have been a 2-4 in the end if Charles had held off Lando. Of course they're not fighting for the title because they can't work out what they've got underneath them. But then Charles' podium in Austin was his first podium for 5 weekends. Lewis is still yet to get an actual Grand Prix podium this season in his debut year, which I actually think, all things considered, Lewis has actually done a pretty good job. But look, roasting Ferrari for their subpar machinery and once again letting down their drivers is not the topic of this video. We can save that for another time, because instead I want to focus about what it was specifically in Austin that showcased Charlie Boy's just incredible ability, and namely his impeccable wheel-to-wheel racecraft. Even look at in the sprint, when Lewis did get past him in the end, Charles defended so on the line, but on the right side of the line. He will always give you space. I'm sure someone will find an example of maybe one time he hasn't, but 9 times out of 10, he will give you the space and he'll race you fairly and he'll meet you where you are. You know, he'll race Max the way Max likes to be raced, and he'll race Lando and Lewis the way that is going to be reciprocated as well. Lewis is one of the best wheel-to-wheel racers in F1 history, as far as I'm concerned. He's always been top tier wheel-to-wheel. Met Charles at his level, and them two looked quality. Like, it was so exciting, both in the sprint and in the race. They had a little ding-dong as well. Great to see, love it. And then comes the scrap with Lando, which came about, first of all, great strategic choice by Charles and Ferrari to start on the softs and just whack it round the outside, get that position on Lando, which ended up costing Lando's ability to fight Max for the win. Maybe he could have won on another day, we will never know, but either way, Charles put himself there and kept Lando at bay for a long time. As early as lap 3, Lando was all over Charles' gearbox, then again on lap 15, and it wasn't until lap 21 where Lando finally got the move done, and that was mainly due to traction out of 11 and kind of past Charles before even the braking zone, which in that instance there's really not much you can do. Every bit of actual corner defense from Charles on Sunday, from 12 to 16 in particular, but also into turn 1, so good. Then of course Ferrari boxed Leclerc before Norris because Charles started on the softs, everyone else started on the mediums, which then gave Leclerc an undercut. So even though Norris had got past, Charles was back ahead after the first rounds of pit stops, meaning we got to see them going at it again. By lap 50, Lando was all over the back of Charles once again, and going into turn 1, Lando did a Hail Mary move up the inside, great little move into one, but Charles saw it coming, got the undercut and got back ahead and stayed ahead. But then the traction zone out of 11 got him once again, and Lando got the move done into turn 12 on lap 51. It was great entertainment, the only entertainment really of what was a pretty unentertaining Grand Prix otherwise, but great wheel-to-wheel play from both. And again, credit to Lando for holding up his end of the bargain. He races hard but fair, and Charles met him there. But given that Lando's package was clearly the quicker of the two, for Leclerc to be able to hold him off for so long was, again, so impressive to me as a fan watching Charles Leclerc. This is just his absolute wheelhouse. Because when I talk about fighting drivers and meeting them at their place, have a look back at Silverstone 2019 and Bahrain 2022 highlights if you want an unbelievable demonstration of how he races Max Verstappen and races Max the way he wants to be raced. Leclerc can do it on the line, he can do it over the line. This is why we need a Verstappen Leclerc title, a proper Verstappen Leclerc title fight that we thought we had in 2022, and then the Ferrari just kind of fell away. Both Max and Charles are so audacious in their moves. Check out Leclerc's pass on George Russell at Zandvoort if you want proof of that. And they both match each other's vibe. Then you add their unbelievable one-lap prowess on both sides from Verstappen and from Leclerc, and the fact that both of them had that crashy phase at the start of their careers, but have very much worked through that. I think all in all, everyone makes mistakes, of course, especially if you're in a peaky Ferrari that's not giving you consistent performance. But them two are a cut above as far as I'm concerned. Well, hang on, Tommo, what about George Russell, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, the McLaren boys? You've not even mentioned them. Am I missing someone left field? I mean, I know Alex Albon goes without saying, I suppose, but let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. As always, my name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta.